It's hard, you're scared your daughter's gonna die, and that's what goes through your head, that something's gonna be gone. Whatever happens, happens, because it is out of your control.
I grew up in a family that social drinking was a common thing, so it didn't really alarm me. I don't think the drinking part ever did really bother me that much. It's the change in her. The addiction was taking over. We saw it, but I think we were in denial.
There's still a lot of thinking out there that drug and alcohol problems are based in moral weakness. And that simply isn't true. The science is very clear that addiction is a brain disease. It comes from a dysregulated reward system that isn't anyone's fault. And certainly there's choice about when you start, but there isn't choice about developing a dependency. I'm Ranteed, and I'm an addictions counselor. Stereotype of an addict is a really interesting question because that's the thing that causes a lot of people a problem. They look at it as really black and white. So if you have an alcohol addiction, you're typically looked at as the town drunk or the wino that's living on the street. With the addict, it's usually the person who's homeless, using dirty needles, and the problem with that is that then people look at that image and then they look at themselves and say, well, I'm not that, so I'm okay.
Lee and I have been married for 33 years. We got married in 1985. We have 3 children. Cody is our oldest, then there's Colton, and Michaela is our youngest. We had lots of fun with the family, like we did lots of outdoor stuff, like we took them camping lots, and we took them to Disneyland, and our kids are always involved in sports, and Michaela played soccer and she danced and really got involved in track and stuff like that. I remember being at the field day and somebody going, who's that girl way out in front? And I looked, it was Michaela, and I had no idea she could run that fast. In grade 12, everything changed, and life was never the same for ever, actually. Her whole dynamics of her personality had changed.
I ended up getting mono in the fall, and soccer is something that's always been really important to me. Like really, really important. And so it was my last year of playing high school soccer, and I was out for half the season. When I went back, I obviously, I was still kind of sick, so I didn't play as best as I had before. That was really challenging for me. My dog that we had for 11, 12 years died. My grandma died that year, and a lot of the people that I was friends with, I was no longer friends with. I felt very alone, very isolated in grade 12. The people that I thought were going to be my friends for life were just no longer there. I wasn't really quite sure what happened or why it happened. But in high school, it's that's your whole life, right? And it was challenging. I did not know how to cope. I would start drinking with some people that I was still friends with. I wasn't super close with them, but I was friends with them in in high school. So I would start drinking with them, being at a house party with them, and then I would go to different house parties where there were drugs. I didn't know a lot of the people that were at those house parties, but I started to develop relationships with them, and it was easier for me to do drugs without my friends in high school knowing what I was doing. So I don't really know how it happened. Like, I don't know how I met all of these people, but it was definitely like I would get blackout drunk and I would go and do things that I wasn't even aware of. So the first time that I ever took a hard drug, I was blackout drunk, and I don't remember doing it.
I definitely didn't know enough about addictions. I didn't grow up in a family that even hardly ever social drank or anything, so I didn't really have addictions around me. I kind of was one of those judgmental people that thought that you'd have to come from a terrible family, all that kind of stuff, before anything bad would happen. So I was very naive when it came to addictions and alcoholism and did not understand it at all. So I was totally blown away. When my kids started partying, I just thought they were partying like I did as a teenager.
Everybody was doing it. High school, going to house parties, parties down in the pits or in the coulees. Everybody was doing it, so I really just thought that it was normal. I didn't realize that I was drinking to excess a lot more than other people were, but I just kind of chalked it up to, like, I'm a teenager, I'm young, I'm doing what everybody else is doing.
But then as the years went on, you could see that it was getting more and more, and it was taking over what she had going for her. You could see it changing.
It is a slow and gradual thing, though, so it's hard to put a time on it, say this is when I thought it was too late or we should have started or anything like that. You know, I still remember it too. It's easy to hide things from parents. Parents always say they know everything, but they don't.
It was in my nature to lie. I would lie even when I didn't have to. It's hard to think about now because, of course, I care now, and when I think about it now, it hurts. But back then, I really truly believed I was only harming myself. You know, I'm like, why would they even care? Like, this isn't their life. Grade 10 and 11, I had tried marijuana and mushrooms. Mushrooms were something that I would just do once in a while, but in grade 12, I started using ecstasy, and that's when life really took a turn. Ecstasy was a drug for me where I could stay up all night and party all night. It gave me a lot of energy. It made me completely out of control. I was blacked out probably 85% of the time, so I can't really describe too much what it was like because I don't even remember. I just know that I couldn't stop doing it. There was times where I was up for 3 days at a time.
I didn't even know how to think of it, to be honest. I was in shock, for one thing, and one of the things you notice is when the friends started changing. You could tell everything had changed in her. That was the summer right after she graduated. That whole summer was a mess. She'd been out, came home in the night or whenever she got home, and we didn't realize that she had smashed up her car that night, and wake up in the morning to the cops at our door and asking about this accident, and we had to go get her and find out what happened. But of course there was all lies too about what had happened, so that was kind of where I realized it's not going to get better, or that's what I thought at the time, that this is going to get worse and worse, because it was scary.
Well, she's passed out downstairs, so you go get her up, and the lies do start right away. And I think she was pretty well out of it anyway. I think it was a hit and run, so there wasn't much you can do about it. It was the progression. Things, the addictions were taken over. She had no fears about doing anything in any kind of shape she was in.
So it was about a month later. I was on probation, so I was to abstain from alcohol and drugs. I had a curfew of 12 a.m. and I was to keep the peace. I came out of the room that I was in and I had just taken 2 pills of ecstasy, and I had been drinking, but I had just taken the drugs. I came out of the room and I walked towards the front door, and there was a cop standing there looking for me. So I looked at him, I ran out the side door, and I went to Riverside Park. I had to go through the park to get home, and I hid behind a tree, and then I saw 2 cop cars coming from either side. They were both coming from either side, and at that point I just kind of gave up. I was like, there's no getting out of this, and I just walked out from behind the tree and I hopped in the back of the cop car.
I remember her phoning me from the jail cell, and I could hear her yelling, "Mom, I'm so sorry," but it was, I never thought I would go through something like that, so it was absolutely devastating, because what do? You let her sit there.
I think they truly wanted to believe what I was saying, but yeah, I was a master manipulator. Well, for one, they let me live under their roof. They would give me money because I wasn't working, paid my cell phone bill, paid my rent when I eventually moved out. When somebody enables an addict, it just prolongs their use rather than them hitting that bottom or getting to a place of, I'm done.
I just want to fix it. I don't want you to have a criminal record. I don't want you to go through these things. And I thought I was helping, and I definitely wasn't.
You feel that it's pretty well useless trying to help her here, so maybe if we can get her out of here, things will change. So you're still grasping at these straws. So drain some more of the bank account, send her to school. She did make a start there, and she actually did show some progress for 2 or 3 or 4 months, but then it all fell apart again. And now she's out of town, so obviously it's not Swift Current that did it to her. This is how much it does affect your life. I probably kind of panicked, and she's gone and don't know what's going on, so we pull up stakes and follow her to where she is. Saskatoon at that time. She ended up moving in with us eventually, and watched her go downhill a little bit more.
I had talked to a friend who, he had messaged me in January of that year, and he's like, I'm going to treatment on Vancouver Island. I contacted him and I was like, I'm gonna go back to Pine Lodge, and he's like, you should really think about coming out here. It's different out here. I'm living in a sober living house. I have a whole new life. Come out here. It was expensive. It was a private treatment center, and I was terrified to ask my parents. I was like, am I serious about this? And I sat down and I really thought about it, and I was like, do you want to be clean? Do you want to not drink for the rest of your life? And I made a commitment to myself that I would quit drinking and doing drugs for 2 years, because the rest of my life was just not something I could even fathom. So I was like, I will do this for 2 years. So I asked my mom, I was like, can I go to Cedars? And I called Cedars, I asked how much it was. I told my mom.
I know my first reaction was, because it was quite expensive, my first reaction is no, because I don't believe you want it, and I don't believe you want to get better. I was scared and I was leery. Because it was, I guess maybe because of the going to the other treatment center and never going through, I kept thinking, how do you spend that kind of money and not be guaranteed that there's going to be progress? So it took me a little bit of convincing. I think Lee was ready to accept it faster than I was. I was scared to believe that she was going to do it. I was kind of feeling hopeless that things were never going to be good again. At that point, I felt like I'd lost my daughter.
We were probably a bit selfish too. It's only money. Let's get her out of here for a while. It's gonna help us too.
Well, for me, I want her to make sure she stayed in the program. I didn't want her to go and then a week later you're saying, I don't want to do this, I want to come home. And so if you're going, you're going to go in the program. This was the first time she actually wanted it, because even before she left, she was talking about staying in the recovery programs after and not coming back.
There wasn't a lot of time to think about it. You're going to go, you're going to go. Let's get some money out from somewhere, send it there, and let's get her there.
So when I was in Cedars, I met a lot of amazing friends. One of my very, very best friends, Ty, is somebody who I met in there who has a very special place in my heart. Victoria was new to us. It was exciting. He was from Edmonton, you know, we're both from the prairies. Like, we were just in this beautiful new city. And we just got to be like really, really, really close. There was a group of us that were really close. He had gone to Vancouver 2 weeks before. Ty had gone to Vancouver 2 weeks before. We actually went that weekend, and we had a friend that we were in treatment with that was living on the east side. She had relapsed and he had found her. And so when we went to Vancouver, he wanted to go and find her again. He's like, let's go see her. And I wasn't comfortable with it. I was like, I feel like that's kind of dangerous for our recovery. And so we went to Vancouver, we got our hotel room. And we were walking and he's like, I'm gonna go find her. And I was like, okay, well, I'm staying in the Starbucks. Like, I'm not putting myself in that environment. Like, please don't go. But I couldn't stop him. He came back about half an hour later and he's like, I couldn't find her. We got back to the hotel room. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And he's like, I'm gonna have a bath. I went to sleep and I woke up 2 hours later and he was still in the bathroom. And the water was still running. Him getting high didn't even cross my mind, like, because it had been like 9 months since I had used anything, and our friendship was just based on recovery and being sober. And so I texted one of my friends and I said, Ty won't answer me, like, I'm trying to get in, like, he's in the bathroom, and he's like, Michaela, he's getting high, you need to get in there. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I opened the door to the bathroom and he was laying dead on the bathroom floor because he had overdosed.
Yeah, her and I were on the phone for hours, and she was on the phone with other people on the other end for hours. It was a horrible night. And I worried that she was going to relapse because it was something so traumatic to go through. I saw her real strength then. She was only 9 months in recovery when that happened, and I was shocked that she got through that because it was a horrible night for her and a horrible few months after, trying to get over that, because she witnessed it, right? She had to find him like that and be let down. Like, one of her things she said, like, everything that they were taught in the program, Ty didn't do. He had her there to talk to, and it devastated her.
I didn't want to die like I just witnessed my friend dying. I didn't want to do that to people I loved. I'd built myself a life that I actually enjoyed and I liked. And I remember when I was in treatment, there's steps that we have to do. And in step one of the questions was, is there anything that you can't get through clean? And I remember sitting there in treatment and thinking about it. And I was like, what if my parents died? What if this happened? You know, like, and I answered, I was like, no, like, there's absolutely, like, I can get through absolutely anything clean. And I remembered that, like, when Ty passed away and all that was going on, I was like, no, like, I can get through this. And like, I have the support of like all my friends and everybody around me. I can get through this. I met my boyfriend, Matt, at Cedars. They have alumni meetings, so every Friday they have it where alumni can come up and they can sit in with the patients and they can share their experience or whatever. When Matt got out of Cedars, you know, we hung out and we ended up just clicking. It's not good to get into a relationship with somebody who's first getting into recovery. They say to stay single for the first year, but I was a year and a half sober at the time, and I did get into a relationship with somebody that was in early recovery. But he just seemed so different.
When she started dating Matt, I thought it was going to maybe be a good thing, but I also knew he was fresh in recovery. Like, she had a couple years under her belt, he didn't, and I worried about it. And I remember telling them once, Matt, I worry because I don't know how if you can't get through the good times when things are good for you, I don't know how you'll ever get through the bad times. Because I said, when you raise family, there's bad times.
For the first 6 months of our relationship, like, it was amazing. I had never really been in a relationship before then, so it was kind of my first serious relationship. He treated me like a princess. You know, he was just like this amazing guy. We both had quite the sense of humor, and we just had so much fun together. And like that, for the first 6 months, that's what it was like. It was just so fun, and I was just like head over heels for him. After about 6 months, he did relapse. You know, from then on, it was a battle. It was like he would get clean for a couple of months and then he would use. We were supposed to go down to Palm Springs with his family for Christmas that year, and you know, I was just like, you're using, like, I can't, I don't think I can be in this relationship. Like, it's a miracle that I'm still clean being in a relationship with somebody that's been using. I need to start taking care of myself, and I was just so angry. Like, I was so angry, and I'm like, how could you have done this again? Like, I wait for you over and over and over again. And so he went down for Christmas. He left a couple days before Christmas, and that was the last time that I ever saw him. I was like, you're not coming home. Like, I'm sorry, but like, there's gonna be like 10 of us who are recovering from addiction, celebrating my birthday, and like, I don't really want somebody who's high sitting there. And he's like, I really want to be there for your birthday. And I was like, we'll talk tomorrow. I need a day away from this. And he ended up dying that night in a hotel room. I woke up the next day and I knew something was wrong. Like, I was like, this is not right. He hasn't contacted me in hours. Like, this isn't right. You know, like, I just knew. I knew that something wasn't right.
Remember, she had texted me that day and said, I'm really worried about Matt. No one's heard from him for a while. And she says, I'm really worried that he's dead. And I said, no, we'll just think positive that he's just gone through a bad night, and we'll think positive. And I bet within 2 or 3 hours she was phoning me telling me he had died.
I realize now that I hadn't done enough work around my trauma of Ty dying, that I carried all of that into my relationship with Matt. You know, I had such a fear of him dying that I had such an inability to let go. And I knew that I couldn't save him, but like, I wanted to believe that like love was enough, or if I'm just there for him, maybe he will get clean.
I was really scared then that she was going to relapse, because she was heartbroken and totally devastated.
Well, I think if she would have been here, like, the support group they had out there was unreal. That's one of the things that probably saved her there. They really stick together and help each other. And she wouldn't have made it without them.
No, I agree.
So, you know, when you've got somebody that's going through stuff like this, if they find a group they feel safe with, that's who they stay with. We'd love for her to come home too, but I don't think would ever be a good thing.
Are you talking about what me and Cody were? No, she was on the quad. She was on the quad. I thought when Cody was on the...
Before Matt died, I had been asked by a lady in the recovery community in Victoria to go up to Cedars and share my story. And so like 3 weeks after my boyfriend passed away, I went to Cedars and I shared my experience with the other women that were in there. And because of my story and like the events that had taken place since I'd been in recovery, you know, I got asked by somebody who I knew in the government of BC to go meet with Christy Clark, the Premier of BC at the time, and share my personal story. I shared my story with her, and she asked me a month later to go to Ottawa with her to talk to federal health ministers. I didn't realize it at the time that I would be like all over national television. Didn't even click to me, but I found out half an hour later that the media wanted to interview me and stuff. So I was all over national news, outing myself being in recovery, being completely vulnerable on national television, and from there it just kind of escalated, you know, like my name was out there, people wanted me to come to schools, they wanted me to start talking about it, and every time that I would talk about it, you know, I'd get like a little, like I'd heal a little bit more. And like even if I share my story with like a group of people and it saves one person, then like it's worth it.
I think it's part of who she is. She's got to get it out. It's good for her. If she can get across to a few other people, you know, and what to do when they see these things happening, it's well worth it, I guess. I think she's going to be fine now.
What's amazing is how many people come up to us and say how proud they are of Michaela, because like they hear her, they've seen her share her story, and I've had so many of those people come up and talk about how proud they are of what she's done and how she's turned herself around and how willing she is to share. And that's nice to hear. We have set up a trailer out at Sask Landing at Cactus Bloom, and we really like going out there. I find my happy place is just as soon as I get out there and I go sit on my deck and you're away from everything, and it just seems like a sense of relief to me.
We go and we spend the entire day out on the lake, and we'll just go down where nobody else is. Here we go again. You know, you sit on the beach 20 miles down the lake reading books and relaxing. And probably the best part of that is lots of places that I'll go to on purpose. There's no cell phone coverage or anything. You've escaped.
Actually, maybe that's one of the things that going through this stuff has taught us, how much time we do like being together. It's probably our best time is the alone time.
My relationship with my parents has definitely grown into something beautiful. I talk to my mom every day. You know, when I come home, it's like I'm excited to see them. When they come out to Victoria to see me, like I'm truly like excited to see them. You know, I think that we wouldn't have the relationship we have today if I didn't go through the things that I have gone through. It's just made me appreciate them so much more.
The biggest problem that anybody's dealing with in North America about addiction problems, and it's exactly the same in Saskatchewan, is that somehow or another it's the person's fault, and that they need to like smarten up, lift themselves up by their bootstraps, whatever cliche or metaphor you want to use. And addiction is very clearly a health problem. It's a brain disease. It's a dysregulated reward system that requires focused, well-trained treatment to fix.
I see addictions as it is a disease, and I think it's like I hear so many people say that, well, if they had never started it in the first place, they wouldn't have this problem. But also it can start just from that first drink of alcohol, where you're starting to drink and you have that need and want so fast, and people don't realize that how fast it takes over and changes your whole chemistry and your whole way of thinking and processing things. And I was one of those ones guilty of not realizing that could happen. My biggest thing, if you have a gut feeling that something's wrong, go with it. Go more with your gut feelings and what you see as signs of things not being right. Totally go with that and know that you're probably right.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on maxTV Local On Demand, write us at max.local@sasktel.com.